It's that time of week again, guys. It is Tuesday night. It is 8:05. It is time for some Turnbuckle Talk. Episode 411, Contract Troubles. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Chris Best, and alongside me I've got OMD, who has got the music more than likely looping in his ear.
Not at the moment,
Wow, surprising.
right?
Today was just one of those lazy days, and it was just perfect for me on the home front, but not so much in the wrestling world. I mean, you and I, we found about 10 to 15 stories, I think.
Right? Yeah, this day just blew up in terms of wrestling news. And I mean, we can't complain because we've had a couple of slow weeks that we've, manufactured the show out of. And today we could, a dozen topics at 5 minutes apiece. Wow.
We're watching NXT right now, and
That
Moose
is-
just showed up, guys. Breaking news. Moose is on NXT.
Is this not something we have wanted for ages?
We talked about here's the thing when it comes to Moose. Remember when his ROH deal came to an end?
Yep.
And WWE and TNA were sniffing around him at the same time. Yep. Everybody was planting all these dream scenarios for Moose to be in WWE over TNA, because at the time TNA wasn't exactly producing the best product. And being Moose, that he's the big man. Vince McMahon was running things at the time. Vince knew how to book big dudes. But this is something we actually discussed on Saturday as well, because Obafemi's in the ring as well. This sort of turned into a little bit of a watch along, but Moose is standing in the ring. We're not sure what he's going to say, because we do have to continue on with the stories of the day here. This is something I'm going to go back and rewatch a little later on here.
Right.
I didn't, thank God. Thank you, Moose. I didn't have an opening, but thank you. You gave me an opening.
But that must mean showtime.
Yes. And you know what? Since we've got a TNA wrestler in the ring, I figured why not start the show off with a TNA wrestler. More specifically, our TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Say his name and he appears. But say his name and he may appear in court. I'm, of course, talking about Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry has recently discovered that there has been some websites that have been illegally selling merchandise with his likeness on it. Joe Hendry has threatened legal action against outlets illegally selling counterfeit merchandise, specifically to one website called tpublic.com. He tweeted out, I promise you I can speak English. Hey TeePublic, he wrote as the caption of photos of bootleg shirts featuring his face and catchphrases. Stop infringing on my intellectual property. Take this down within 24 hours or I will begin legal proceedings. Hendry then responded to a fan who noted that the TeePublic website features merchandise created by individual people and that he should focus his legal efforts in that direction. His response was, these sites know exactly what they're doing, he said, before posting another statement on X with additional photos. Counterfeit merch has become a serious issue, he's written. Unless you get it from me, TNA, Pro Wrestling Tees, Hot Topic, or Major Bendy's, it is fake. Joe Hendry merch is a fake site. The attached images are examples of counterfeit items. It's time to stamp this out. OMD, I go to you. What do you make of this?
Good on him, because he is losing out on those royalties coming from that. However, having been to several different events, whether it's concerts, festivals, wrestling shows, hockey games, there is so much counterfeit merch out there. For all of it, it's not something that is ever going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately for him, I do believe that although he may get these sites shut down, another one is going to pop up. It's like these Nigerian scam artists.
Right. And you know what? I'm 100% behind Joe on this one, because it's his likeness, it's his quotes that they're using. Sure, he has become a meme, but guess what? With his theme song, he has. But guess what? When the stars of those memes get merchandise made for them, some of those t-shirt makers will reach out to you to talk to you about using your likeness, whether it's on a t-shirt or a coffee mug or a pillow or whatever. But this website definitely has not done that. And they didn't do their due diligence in looking up likeness rights for these shirts, because as they had said, T Republic specifically is a site where users can create their own shirts to be sold. Same thing with Redbubble, for instance, which is the shop we use for our merchandise. So I firmly believe Joe Hendry is well within his rights here to actually sue the company T Republic, not the creator, because the company is the one that's actually putting that shirt out without filtering or looking at it and saying, hey, we can't put this shirt out there because it has this guy's name on it. That'd be like if we went into our Redbubble and we started selling Metallica t-shirts.
Right.
Metallica would come down on us and try to sue us or tell us, hey, take that shirt down.
Yep.
We've got Bubba coming in and saying, good evening, boys. Good evening, Bubba. How are you doing?
Good to see you, my friend.
But I firmly believe that, yeah, Joe's well within his rights. He can get legal counsel and get the ball rolling and get this stuff shut down.
He absolutely is. And I do think that, you know what, you shut one site down, you're going to start another one back up. And again, I'm going to look at this as the Metallica shutting down Napster. All of a sudden, you get all of these streaming platforms, which is what it evolved into. But you were able to go to things like LimeWire back in the day, or even iMesh, if you really want a deep cut.
Or BearShare or Kazaa.
Yeah, and get the stuff there anyways. So...
But the difference between those streaming sites is you ran the risk of destroying your computer versus getting cheap merch.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. You're going to pay $25 for a garbage shirt.
Yeah, and this actually makes me think of a story that happened within our city. If you remember the store, I believe it was called Ricky's. It was in the Market Mall. Do you remember the story where do you remember? Well, there was a story that happened where their store got raided because everything in their store was counterfeit.
Wow.
He got forced to shut down. I believe he did open up, but more as a more legit shop, because supposedly, their keyword there, supposedly he didn't know that the merch was counterfeit.
Right.
But you know what? I 100% support Joe Hendry on this one. I 100% support any wrestler, any athlete who's got their likeness out there, who's selling their own merch. And like you said, if you're not buying it directly from Joe Hendry himself, TNA, Major Bendy's, Hot Topic, which is where TNA merch is sold, and the TNA merchandise website that you guys
Yeah.
promote on Brace for Impact. If you're not buying it from those 5 sources, you're not getting the actual gear.
Right. And it's not going to have the TNA logo on it.
Right.
So right there, you can say, yes, I've got a Joe Hendry shirt. No, you don't have an authentic Joe Hendry.
No, you have a random dude in his basement making shirts t-shirt. That's what you have.
Yeah.
So again, Joe Hendry, good on you. He does give out images, and I know my Joe Hendry merch. You can tell they're fake.
Yep.
But yeah, Joe, good on you for this one. It's high time that people crack down on these, because yes, even though like you had said, like with LimeWire, Kazaa, BearShare, and all them streaming things, those downloading sites, they no longer exist anymore because of the fact that streaming software had come out, like your Spotify, Apple Music, and all that.
Yeah.
So if you keep cracking down on these people, then something's got to give, and something eventually these will get shut down. The more and more people who speak to these things, you know.
Yep.
But on that note, I believe, OMD, you've got some news on a certain wrestler we can't see, but we do see on Monday nights.
We do, and that being one John Cena. Now, this did come out yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And as part of his farewell tour on the road to WrestleMania, John Cena will be on Raw in Europe, March 17th in Brussels, Belgium, March 24th in Glasgow, Scotland, and March 31st in London, England.
I'm actually excited about these. I've already mentioned, because back when they announced these dates, I think it was like back in October they announced these dates.
Yeah.
I remember being very excited, specifically for the Raw that's coming to Belgium, because they've done a Raw in Scotland before. They've done a Raw in England before. But I'm very intrigued to see the Belgium crowd, because that's a crowd that we've never really seen on TV, you know?
Right?
I'm excited about this. I'm really curious, because this is going to be, clearly, as you had said, it's going to be on the road to WrestleMania. It's going to be part of that Road to WrestleMania Europe tour that they're doing.
Yes.
I'm very curious about this. I want to see like who John's going to be feuding with by that point, because we're going to have answers after the Chamber for where John's Mania path goes.
Yes.
Very jacked about this, and I know that the fans in Belgium, Scotland, and England are extremely going to be excited about this. And there's a part of me that I'm looking at that Scotland date. I kind of want to see him have an encounter with Drew McIntyre on that show.
Right? I'm excited for those fans as well, because this is part of John Cena's farewell tour, something I do get to be a part of. So admittedly, I am excited for that. And this is going to be his last run through Europe.
Yeah.
So I know he's got 30 some odd dates left on his farewell tour. So I am excited for the fans. I'm excited for John to get that send off over in Europe that he so richly deserves and has earned throughout his illustrious career.
You know what I would do? And again, I'm looking at the Scotland and England dates, and I know he's wrestled on Raws that took place in Scotland and England. Have him have a match at the Belgium Raw, because that would just make that crowd even more special. For the very first time they're doing a Raw there, put John Cena in a match on that card. That way you can get the fans in Belgium to keep coming back.
Oh, absolutely. You know? Absolutely.
We got Laser sorry, we got Laser Rumble coming in and saying hello. How's it going, Laser? Sorry, OMD, you were saying?
I was going to say, I'm thinking more for the Scotland show. We've seen him and Drew go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we need to see that. I think that's where we need Joe Hendry.
Yeah, that just popped in my head. I mean, we just covered the Joe Hendry story. Joe Hendry's been angling to have a match with John Cena. John Cena and Joe Hendry have even talked with each other about the idea of having a match. Yeah. And then there's the floating rumor that's been going around that it could very well be Joe Hendry and John Cena at WrestleMania.
Right?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that makes even more sense because you know what? When it comes to Joe Hendry and I watch him, I know he's European, but he doesn't have that European look.
No, he doesn't.
Until you hear him talk, then that's
Right.
where the Scotland accent comes out.
And he is from Ayr, Scotland.
Yep. And I've been watching him since his days wrestling in Scotland.
Right.
But yeah, that makes just as much sense too, because again, you've got Drew McIntyre, who's more than likely going to be in a feud with somebody. Probably, I'm going to just flat out say maybe Roman Reigns. But if you want to get that crowd pumped, that Scotland crowd pumped, you bring Joe Hendry.
Yeah.
But yeah, John Cena. Just glad I'd like to see him wrestle matches on those shows. More specifically, as I said, the Belgium show, because again, first we're on Belgium. Why not make it a big deal? Why not put John in a match on that show?
Yeah. 100%. I think we need to get more John Cena wrestling and not just the promos throughout this farewell tour. And not just in select markets. Like, am I angling to hopefully see John Cena on February 28th on SmackDown? Absolutely, I
am. You more than likely will too, because that's going to be the final show before the pay-per-view. And you kind of on those final shows, you need an all hands on deck type situation. So to get that last minute push for that show, for those people who maybe didn't buy tickets yet, who are going to be, because I presume SmackDown is going to be at the Air Canada Center or the Scotiabank Center. I still call it Air Canada Center.
Yes, it's at Scotiabank.
Yeah. You're going to have those fans that are going to be like, okay, this show's over. They put on a hell of a promo. I'm going down the road to the Rogers Center to buy a ticket.
Yeah. And our friend the Bulkster coming in saying he wasn't at the SmackDown before the Rumble. No, he wasn't. But again, that builds that mystique. Plus, he had just gotten back from Hungary filming a movie.
So, like right now, his schedule, because I know his movie schedule, he's pretty wide open right now.
Yeah.
So he can still go to Toronto and be on the SmackDown. Then you have that promo where all six men are like laying their claim on who's going to win. John Cena comes out, and it's like you make it the hottest promo of the night, we'll say.
Oh yeah,
because you're trying to drive home those last few tickets, and then you got people who maybe bought tickets to SmackDown but didn't buy for Elimination Chamber.
I think that promo, I'm going to be very honest with you, it's going to be something we see standard. I think it's going to open the show to close the show with the 6-man tag.
Yeah. Or something. Yeah, something along those lines. And again, that's where you drive those last minute ticket sales.
Yeah.
But John Cena, I'm very jacked about this. I'm when it comes, okay, so they're doing this European tour. Just a little programming note. I can't say for sure, but I'm really not sure what we're doing as far as the Raw Patrol goes, though. We will keep you informed on that one.
Right. I know if it's during the day, it would be you and I.
Yes. We'll know more information when that comes, everybody. So just hang tight on that one.
Yes.
Speaking of hanging tight and WrestleMania, since we're on that subject, you've got some news regarding some TNA events coming. TNA event coming there.
I do. And TNA is returning to the city of Las Vegas, somewhere they are very familiar with, to bring you Unbreakable on April 17th, which I believe is it's the Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
An action-packed live pro wrestling show at the Cox Pavilion, located on the campus of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Fans will get a double dose of TNA that spring night during the biggest weekend of the year in pro wrestling. Unbreakable will air live on the TNA Plus app starting at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. local time, featuring TNA World Champion Joe Hendry, Knockouts Champion Masha Slamovich, and the TNA World Tag Team Champions, the Hardys. As always, the flagship show will air from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on Access TV in the U.S., Sportsnet Plus in Canada, and internationally via the TNA Plus app. Although matches have yet to be announced, they will be announced over the next month, but multiple championship matches being held in Las Vegas. And TNA wrestling executives said that anything can happen in Vegas, and often does.
I mean, WrestleMania weekend, I'm already calling this based off what we saw earlier. It's going to be Moose and Obafemi. Not at Unbreakable, but they are going to fight at Stand and Deliver.
Right.
Although, again, I keep forgetting about Roadblock. Maybe they have a match at Roadblock.
Right. Maybe this is where we get John Cena on TNA programming for that match with Joe Hendry.
It's very possible. And good on TNA. And I know that this is done as well as being in partnership with the WWE, because I fully expect that because they're both in the same city that week, I fully expect that we are going to see some TNA involvement at Stand and Deliver and some WWE involvement at Unbreakable.
Absolutely. And I mean, if you look at it though, like every year, like wherever WrestleMania is, you get WrestleCon, you get TNA. Like TNA have done crossovers with, I believe it was All Japan or New Japan, I can't remember. Might have even been Noah, in a style similar to AEW's Forbidden Door.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're getting that same weekend going into NXT Stand and Deliver, going into WrestleMania. There is absolutely no question that there is going to be involvement on both shows.
Oh, 100% there is. You also ROH used to actually host their big show for them during WrestleMania week, but obviously their alliance with AEW, that's kind of done.
Yeah. No, you would get all of those companies where it would be converging on the city plus WrestleCon.
Mm-hmm. And believe me, I would be, if I were doing WrestleMania weekend, I've already said this, I would actually do WrestleMania week. Like I'd go to this, whatever city it is, I'd go on the Monday and then take in everything that's going on wrestling wise throughout that week. And of course, go out and enjoy the city when there wasn't something wrestling related going on. I'd go to, I would, if I'm doing Vegas, I would go to TNA on Thursday. I would go to SmackDown on Friday, go to the Hall of Fame after, buy a ticket to go to WrestleCon, go check out the WWE World, go to Stand and Deliver, and then do both nights of WrestleMania, you know?
Right. Well, and I can tell you this just from having been through, the access and all of that. We met some friends at WrestleMania 23 and we asked if they were going to the Hall of Fame. They said no, they ended up getting tickets to the Pistons game that night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like you can, that's what's driving money for the city of Las Vegas for WrestleMania is all these events that are coming in, and it wouldn't surprise me if we see another company underneath the TKO brand put out an event. I'm talking about UFC.
Oh, absolutely.
They
PBR.
could, yeah, they could do it. They could do a show on say the Tuesday night or something like that,
Right.
and
But
and just do it at the Apex.
I mean, yeah, and if I'm doing WrestleMania week, I fly in on the Saturday, have the Sunday to sort of discover the city, maybe do even a little bit of recovery and pre-rest.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, and I would also do the Raw after WrestleMania because
Oh,
that'll still be in the
absolutely.
same city. But yeah, this is I'm intrigued. I've been considering pulling the trigger on getting the TNA Plus using that the promo codes that they keep throwing out.
Right.
I'm intrigued to check it out. I remember when I first heard about them mentioning doing an event in Las Vegas. This was during sometime during last year when the crossovers between WWE and TNA were still happening, and I'm like, I don't know if that's going to work out, but I think it will,
Yes.
because I'm talking like this was like last year, Jordan Grace being in the Rumble. I had heard that they were planning an event for Vegas in 2025.
Right.
And I thought, because this was around the time that I thought Jordan Grace was just a one-off thing. But now
Right.
that it's come to light that there is a partnership there, I'm on board. I'm on board. I'll see where this goes,
100%.
Speaking of being on board with things, this is something I'm sort of on board with right now. I would like to do a little bit of a wait and see on this one. But Triple H has gone ahead and unveiled 2 new championship belts for the newly launched WWE ID program. WWE COO Triple H Jean-Paul Levesque, or Paul Levesque, I called him by his gimmick name and his real name there, took to X today to unveil 2 new championship belts designed specifically for the newly launched WWE ID program. 1 belt for the men's, 1 belt for the women's. Trying to scroll down here so that I can read more. The WWE ID social media account then noted that the first WWE ID champions will be determined in a tournament that will be held across top indie wrestling promotions, and then moving forward from that, the championships will be defended on the indies. More information, including the competitors, dates, and venues, will be shared at a later time. And for our viewers here, I actually have the image of the championship titles here for you to look at. OMD, I don't think you've seen these images. Have you seen the images of the titles
I
here?
did. I did,
Okay,
because I was looking for the link initially when I first saw the pictures coming out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I want your thoughts on these titles too, as I accidentally hit the hide button here. Give me 1 second; it's going to pop up. So what we're looking at here, it kind of for the listeners out there, it kind of looks almost like the MLB belts to me. We're looking at on both titles, there's an image of like a globe with the words WWE ID champion written across them. And then there's like a circle of diamonds around the WWE ID logo as well. OMD,
Right.
what are your thoughts on what do you make of this championship title?
Not bad. I think maybe a little overdone. I do see the globe more on what I believe is the men's.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. Because I'm looking over at the women's, I see it more. I see more of the diamond design.
Yeah.
But again, Hunter's fingers are covering most of it too. So
right. I do like just the fact that it does say WWE ID. And it's going to be very, very interesting to see, because this is now the first time that WWE is allowing a championship to be defended outside of WWE.
I have to assume, though, that these titles are going to be passed around with the wrestlers who are signed to the WWE ID program.
Right.
And there's a plethora of them. There's that word again. There's a plethora of wrestlers who are signed to that. I'm excited about this. I want to find out if there's a way that we can watch these programs, and maybe they are on the WWE Evolve show that's coming.
Yeah.
Or maybe I was going to say LFG, but I don't think that's the case there.
No.
But I wouldn't be too opposed to seeing these titles again, maybe on WWE Evolve.
Right.
Or or on the YouTube channel. Like you can take let's say Kylie Ray. I know she's a part of the WWE ID program. Have her defending the title if she won the title against somebody else who's a part of the ID program. Then you throw that match up on YouTube, and then through that you can gauge fan reaction to you can gauge the fans to see how they react to these women, these people who are part of the WWE ID program. And through that you could look at like the comments and say, oh wait, these fans maybe don't like this wrestler, they maybe like this wrestler. Let's figure out what we can do from there, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm excited. I am gonna keep following this. I would like to know when these dates are gonna happen.
Right.
I would like to see the WWE ID X page maybe throw up an update on the brackets for matches maybe that we couldn't catch or something like that, or even throw the matches up on the WWE ID page.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as again, the titles have been announced again, but we're waiting. All we got to do is wait on who's going to be in the tournament, when those tournament matches are going to take place. Yeah. I'm very excited to see where this goes.
Me too. I know one of the big comments I've heard is, again, quantity of titles over quality. People are already comparing them to the Speed Championship. Well, X pays a great deal of money to have the Speed Championship on X. That's why we don't see it on regular TV. So whether it does come to Tubi or YouTube, whether it comes to LFG, whether it's just ID or it's going to eventually involve NIL and Evolve, it could end up being all three.
Right. And those people who are saying quantity over quality with those titles have not been watching how WWE's been booking their championship matches lately.
Right.
That much is clear. Because, I mean, yeah, there are a ton of titles in the WWE. There's even more titles over in AEW.
Yeah.
I swear, everybody's a champion over there.
Well, yes. And I mean, you want to, quantity over quality. There you go. Yeah. AEW and Ring of Honor.
Yeah. But like I said, like each Hunter finds a way to make each of those champions, the championships in the WWE, even sometimes the Speed title, he finds a way to make that title special. Like Absolutely. Even yesterday, we saw Lyra Valkyria and Dakota Kai having a face-off for their number one contendership match next week. And just based off that face-off, I can't wait for that match. Right?
Right.
But yeah, like I can't wait to see what they do with this. I personally would like to see these matches showcased on some sort of a platform, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Tubi, or for us up here, Evolve will be airing on Netflix. Or not Netflix, YouTube.
YouTube, yes.
I'm only saying Netflix because I've got Netflix on right now for NXT. I'm very excited. Let me see here. Sorry, I lost my train of thought here. I needed a reason, and I know that the WWE ID program is a lot of wrestlers that are possibly vying for a contract, but the championships are a good addition to that because now you can take these wrestlers who are in the WWE ID program, put a title on them if you really like them, if you like what they're doing, and see
Yep.
how they run as a champion.
Yeah.
I think that's what Hunter is thinking when it comes to these titles.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, this is now where you can, out of the ID program, this is where you can start to weed out who is going to come up, who isn't.
Yeah. Who needs that little bit more seasoning versus who is ready, you know?
Yeah.
But I think it's time we sail across the seas to Japan, because we got a couple of we got one very sad story coming out of Japan. And I wasn't able to find a picture of him, but New Japan Pro Wrestling legend Gran Hamada sadly passed away at the age of 74. This dude was just, you think of the big legends in New Japan, you think of Jushin Liger, you think of Giant Baba, you think of oh my god, what's his Mitsuharu Misawa, you think of Tenaru, Kabuki, hell, he wasn't really from Japan, but Yokozuna.
Right.
Gran Hamada was always one of those guys that was in that conversation. Always
Right.
in that conversation. He passed away at his home in San Luis Potosi, Mexico. Hamada had an in-ring career that spanned, and this number amazes me, but he's been around the wrestling business for 46 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Career that began in 1972 with New Japan Pro Wrestling, where he was one of the first dojo trainees, one of the first ones to come out of the Young Lions Club.
Wow.
He would eventually make his way to Mexico, and throughout his career, he competed at independent shows in the country, in addition to working dates for CMLL and AAA, which is, of course, their WWE and WCW of Mexico.
Yes.
His last documented match was in 2018, where he wrestled in Michinoku Pro Wrestling. Yeah. Hamada has two daughters whose names I can't pronounce, but they also took on careers in pro wrestling as well. His one daughter returned to the ring in November, just a few months ago, and his other daughter had wrestled in January, actually.
Wow. Hamada is a name that I know by name only.
But you've heard like the legendary tales of the matches that he's had, right?
No. I've heard of the name. That is all.
Dude, seriously, when you get a chance, go back and watch some of his matches, because he was great at what he did in the ring.
Right.
He got it right away. You know what I mean?
Right.
74 years old, 46 years wrestling. Like, come on. Like, what are they doing over in Japan with these guys who are able to wrestle as long?
Right.
And I know a lot of people are going to say it's because he adapted with the times, which is what a lot of wrestlers actually do in Japan, especially with Liger. If you look at the stuff Liger did in the 80s or the 90s compared to what he did in his match with, we'll say Tyler Breeze, because the match with Tyler Breeze that he had was friggin' phenomenal.
Right.
But you notice that if you watched again a match with him in the 90s, you'll see the difference in wrestling style between then and now. And that's how these wrestlers over in Japan are able to go as long as they do.
Right.
But Gran Hamada, thank you for your memories. Thank you for giving your body to the pro wrestling business. And as we usually do, when a wrestler passes away, we acknowledge you.
Thank you, Hamada. Rest in paradise.
And I think since we're in Japan, I really do think it is time for our Showstopper segment.
All right.
On his feet. Oh my God in heaven!
All right, so New Japan. We're still in Japan. We're still with New Japan. We haven't gone to All Japan or Pro Wrestling Noah. New Japan Pro Wrestling contract season has thrown the company into a state of uncertainty. As you know, OMD, or as you may or may not know, when contracts in New Japan come up, it's always the first of the new year. The 1st of January is when all contracts get renegotiated, or whoever has contracts that are coming up get renegotiated.
Right.
They've managed. New Japan has managed to get a number of their wrestlers signed to new deals, but there's a list of guys that still have not signed a deal with New Japan, and they're only working on right now. They're working on a pay-per-appearance deal. And there's a few big names that are still on this list. We're looking at, as you saw in our thumbnail, Zack Sabre Jr., David Finlay, Gabe Kidd, Kevin Knight still have yet to sign. Do you think that they sign, or do they go somewhere? Do they look somewhere else?
I think some, and having read the article as well, I think it's going to be a mix of both. I think you're going to see somebody like a Zack Sabre Jr. make his way over to North America and become elite.
No, I don't want him to become elite.
I don't either.
I've been wanting him to come to the Fed for years.
Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen just because of his history and everything he's got with the elitists. Gabe Kidd, I don't know a whole lot about. I do understand he is a fantastic competitor.
Oh, he is.
He's someone that I would like to see potentially come over. Finlay, I think WWE missed the boat on him a few years ago. And given that we haven't seen anything from his little brother, even though he's been signed to WWE for over a year, I don't see him being in a rush to come over to North America.
No, I think you might be right when it comes to David Finlay. I do want to see him in a WWE ring, but right now he's doing some fantastic things in New Japan. He's the one who still has a few more dates on him. Gabe Kidd, Kevin Knight, and Zack Sabre Jr. I'm not exactly sure what their deal is, or if they have the same dates that David Finlay does, because I know it says in the article that David Finlay has been announced for upcoming shows, signaling that he's likely sticking around, just as you had said. But Zack Sabre Jr., the moment he stepped in that cruiserweight tournament there many years ago for the WWE, I wanted him.
Right. I didn't even know he was in that tournament.
Yeah, he was. And I remember this very well, because I got a little bit of a funny story around this, because I was talking to a friend of mine who lived out in Seattle, Washington some years ago. We were talking about the cruiserweight open, it was, or something like that. I can't remember the name right offhand. And we were going through the brackets, and keep in mind, this friend of mine was a massive New Japan Pro Wrestling fan. And I'm like, oh, there's one wrestler I'm very excited to see. And he's like, oh yeah, well, which one's that? I'm like, Zack Sabre Jr. And he's like, I've never heard of him. How are you a New Japan fan if you don't know who Zack Sabre Jr. is?
Right? No, I think just Zack's history with Forbidden Door and everything he has done with AEW And I believe he's friends with the Bucks and Kenny and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
That leads me to believe that he's going to go there and get overpaid to then get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, and that's why, again, like I feel like he could be beneficial in the WWE, more specifically on NXT. I think he would be fantastic there. I would love to see him and we'll say Charlie Dempsey have a match.
Yeah.
Him and Nathan Frazier would put on a killer match. Him and Javon Evans would be awesome. Him and Wesley would be awesome.
Yep.
There's a lot of awesome matches there for Zack Sabre Jr. And there's even great matches for him on the main roster too. You know, like there's AJ Styles, for instance. Speaking of Wesley, he just showed up on my TV.
Yes, he did.
David Finlay, though, I feel like I know that again, they've announced that he's already signed to a couple more dates, and it's more than likely that he does sign. But when his contract does come up, I feel like he very well, like the next time his contract comes up, I'm saying, I feel like he could very well end up in the WWE, and I'm basing that on his dad, you know?
And again, I would be more than excited. I do remember watching David Finlay in old school ROH.
Yeah.
And then, of course, taking Lifeblood. But again, I think he's got too many friends in Jacksonville. But I would love to see him come to the WWE, come to NXT, become that, maybe that new voice in the NXT locker room, because he's got the experience. And I mean, you look at him, he is a second generation wrestler. So yeah. I would be all for it.
Sorry, I'm trying to get some information on on Kevin Knight, because I'd like to see, like, he's the only wrestler in this list that I'm not too familiar on. I know right now he is or he's a former 2-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. And I do remember like hearing bits and pieces about him over the last year.
Right. I believe about a year and a half ago he was wrestling in TNA as well, but came out dressed looking like a pylon wearing bright orange.
Yeah, not in the image I'm
if it's the same person I'm thinking of.
Yeah, not in the image I'm looking at. I see him wearing all denim. But no, you're right. He did appear in TNA. He also did appearances for MLW, because I know MLW and New Japan had a deal at one time. He's wrestled for JCW. He's also wrestled for AEW and its sister promotion, ROH. And that was probably on a per loan deal, because, again, the deal that's there between New Japan and All Elite. Just trying to get a little bit more history on him. And when it comes to him, I kind of want to see, like, I do see that he was trained by, he was trained by Shibata. He survived being trained by Shibata. He can go anywhere.
Yeah.
And be good. I'm sorry, but Shibata is just one of the toughest dudes in New Japan, in my personal opinion.
Right.
I think he could go anywhere and just be fine with that. He trained at the New Japan LA dojo, and that's how he ended up over there, which I totally forgot there actually is there was a North American dojo for New Japan.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to get back to Gabe Kidd. You don't have any information on him at all, right?
No, I know a little bit. Like, I know the name. I know he just fought Kenny Omega. And I've seen, like, I've heard the name. I've heard some big matches for him, but I've never actually watched him, again, compete. I don't know enough about New Japan to make a fair assessment.
I'm already looking at him. I haven't seen much of his matches, but in just looking at his body stature, WWE is where he should go. He's got that big man build, that we were talking about earlier. He's got that big man build that a guy like Hunter would know what do I need to do, what I need to do with this guy, He's got think of like Walter Gunther when he was Walter. He's got that build, but he's bald instead. But no, I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued now, especially with David Finlay and Zack Sabre Jr. being listed there. And again, like you had said, David Finlay could very well end up just staying with New Japan, but it's Zack Sabre Jr. that's where I'm really intrigued about. The same thing though, like you mentioned him possibly going to AEW. I feel like we would just get a lot of repeat matches that he might have already done if he does go there,
Well, I know that he's only done the 2 right now with at Forbidden Door with Bryan Danielson and Orange Cassidy. But yeah, those are that history with Cassidy.
Yeah, those are fresh matches, but I'm talking about like the guys who came from New Japan that he has worked, like the Young Bucks. I know he's worked them. I know he's worked Kenny Omega in New Japan, and he's also worked Will Ospreay in New Japan.
Right.
And I know it's that whole 2 different companies. You got to look at it like different booking, but if you put him in WWE, it's all fresh matches for him.
It is. It is. At the same time, it's that time of year. I mean, if you're looking, we've just seen numerous releases in the past week. We've seen 2 major superstars go and start to test free agency.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's really any rush for New Japan to get this down. Maybe let them explore. Yeah. Let them look at contract options.
Right.
Japan is probably still going to be the best fit for these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking at a Zack Sabre Jr., yes, he is of British descent, but Japan is where he's cut his teeth. Japan is where he has made everything.
Right.
So I think that may still very well be the best fit for him.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't be too opposed if he stayed either way, but if he is looking to leave, I mean, the world's his oyster, because like, let's face it, he leaves, he becomes one of the hottest free agents in pro wrestling.
Yes. Now, I do believe that unfortunately, if he goes to AEW, he gets lost in the shuffle. Unfortunately for Zack Sabre Jr., I think once he goes main roster, if he comes to WWE, he gets lost in the shuffle. He'll be there like 6-8 months. Everything will be going great. Loses the title match, and there it goes.
But that's hard to say at this point in time. I mean, it's a whole... We'll have to take a wait-and-see approach on that situation. Regardless, though, I'm intrigued. I'm gonna keep a closer eye. These were only like a few names that were mentioned. There's probably more names that are there.
Absolutely.
That WWE, AEW, TNA could even jump on, should they not sign with New Japan. But on that note, I think it is time that we showcase everything we've got going on with the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday nights you get the Locker Room Breakdown at 7 p.m., followed by the Raw Patrol at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursday we got total non-stop action with Brace for Impact at 8 p.m. Friday we game again with Unleashed, the Jessica Wilde story at 7 p.m. Following the game, join us for the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday, be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. followed by the Boar's Nest at 8 p.m. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day.
Yeah, and if you want to follow all of that information, guys, just go to the affiliationprogram.my.canva.site. You'll find all kinds of information on our programming there as well. Since we are coming up to the end of the show, OMD, where can the people find you? As soon as your socials can be found here. I can't find them. I am blind. Oh, there they are.
There they are. And I am out of the loop. Haha. So people, you can find me on my link tree, linktr.ee/OMD show. Stay tuned to all future programming to see where I might appear next. Mr. Best.
All right, guys. If you want to follow me, just look for me under my link tree, linktr.ee/Chris_best83. I believe I'm lagging out here. Yeah. So again, that's linktr.ee/Chris_best83. Got a comment here. Just hang on one second. I'm lagging just a little bit here. So. Oh. Bulkster's giving us spoilers TNA right now, or NXT right now. We're not really watching it because we're trying to report the wrestling
spoilers
news
on the show.
On that note, OMD, what are those famous words we actually like to go on?
Ladies and gentlemen, the world is a scary place. Take care of each other. From all of us here at Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program, to those of you out there, wherever you are, good night, good luck. We out.